everybody, my name is Simona, and usually on this channel I am live streaming while I make some decoden cases. But today I wanted to show you guys another thing that I've been making weekly actually, and that is bread. Last week Michael brought me some bread and I showed off my beautiful loaf, and I asked you guys if you wanted to know my recipe. So here it is. I hope it's easy to follow. I hope you are able to make this bread with the stuff you have at home. All you're gonna need is an oven. I personally use my, I think it's like a multi-use toaster oven that also has an air fryer and it can bake. I use that to both ferment and to bake my bread. Mixer, you don't necessarily need a fancy mixer. You could just use your hands or a hand mixer. I use a stand-up mixer, but it really doesn't matter. And the other fancy stuff is maybe the bread basket, but you can use a bowl. And the Dutch oven, you don't have to use a Dutch oven. You could use a pot, you could just have it on a tray. However you want to bake this bread, it comes out delicious. This time, however, in particular, maybe it's because I filmed the whole process, this bread came out 10 out of 10. So I did something special here. I don't know what it is, but it's there. So I hope you guys enjoy this recipe. Without further ado, take it away. So to begin, we're going to be making a Poolish. So this is like a little premix to ferment the ingredients a little bit and then make the dough. So this first part is just a couple ingredients, super easy. You incorporate it really well, and then you can leave this to ferment for 2 to 16 hours. So this is where the bulk part of like the nice fermenty stuff is going to happen. This is what gives the bread that nice artisanal taste. Don't skip this part. I would suggest, it's great. Then you're gonna mix that Poolish with all of these ingredients right here and make your bread. This is honestly a very simple recipe. If you know anything about bread making, people do so many mixes of different flours. This is so simple. Regular all-purpose flour, regular whole wheat flour. You can even, if you don't have whole wheat flour, just replace it with more all-purpose and it will work just fine. And I mix this in my stand mixer, but you could use a hand mixer or with your hands, of course. You don't need any of these fancy tools. Of course, scrape down the sides and cover this with a little bit of flour and cover it back up. I'm using some wax fabric here, just trying to avoid using saran wrap, but you can use saran wrap if you have some, and going to ferment it just a little more so that it rises a bit before I do the last rise, which is going to be in this bread basket that you're going to see me use. Now, before I put it into the bread basket, of course, I'm going to knead it a little bit, and I'm going to be using kind of like, you can see I'm folding to my left hand and then I kind of turn it 90 degrees. Whatever feels most comfortable for you. So this bread basket right here, as I was saying, you can use a bowl and just cover it with a bit of linen or a bit of cheesecloth. You don't have to get this fancy bread basket at all. And you know, you can use saran wrap to cover it or another piece of fabric. Same with this Dutch oven. You can use a regular Dutch oven. This is one made specifically so that the loaves of bread come out nice and long boys. And then over here, I'm just placing the empty Dutch oven inside of the oven so that it preheats along with the oven. And of course, my bread is off to the side in the basket, still rising to be ready to baked. Be ready to be baked, of course. Then you're gonna put the bread in there. As you can see here, my bread still doesn't look fully risen, but when I take it out of the oven, you'll see how it will have like doubled in sides. Also, I don't do this, but you can score the top of your bread here if you want it to look fancy. I like a little crinkly look. What can I say? At the last 10 minutes, I take the lid off of the Dutch oven. This is to give a nice brownishness to it. And ta-da! This is the finished bread. Now, we have been eating bread every single morning as our breakfast, and I will show you right now how I prepare that. It's
bread and butter. Nothing too fancy, but I'll show you what I use. Just look at the color, look at the texture. This is what you want, baby. This is actually the next day. I put it in my fridge overnight, and then I go ahead and I cut it with a bread knife. You can use any serrated knife. I usually use a smaller knife, but I use my big knife because I was making a video. And as you can see, it's still got a little bit of springiness to it. The crumb is artisanal looking. That's the best way that I can say. And here I am putting an ungodly amount of butter. We've been eating so much butter. I make my own butter by mixing cream until it's butter, and that's why I have an entire tub of it. Here's that bite. Delicious.
Alright guys, that is it for the recipe. Careful, you're gonna want to make this every week, as I am. I love bread. I love this bread. In particular, this loaf is one of the top ones I've ever made. If you are part of my Deco Darling Discord, feel free to post a picture of your bread if you decide to make it. Take me on your bread journey. I want to see how good you get at making bread. If maybe someday you make one that is, I don't know what I did. I honestly, like, this one came out really good. So hopefully yours comes out just as good as this one. I would love to see your breads. And that's it. As I mentioned before, I'm here making decoden cases on live stream every Tuesday and Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, here on YouTube, Twitch, and on TikTok, all at the same time. My username is SimonaJulieta, and if you're interested in buying one of these, the link is down below. I hope you have a great bread making